Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Once in a Wild. It's me, Amanda, and today is Wednesday, and we're here at a special time with a very special guest. So thank you so much for joining. I'm going to give all of our viewers just a couple of moments to join in, and once I see we have a few viewers chiming in, I'll go ahead and officially introduce our special guest. But thank you so much for joining us at this special time. Then don't worry, we will have our regularly scheduled show at 6:30 p.m. tonight as well if you want to watch me another time. And if you've never seen me before, hello, my name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild, and we are a mobile zoo which brings the zoo to you, and now we can bring the zoo to you virtually via live streams and Zoom room animal encounters. It looks like we're good to go, so let me go ahead and introduce my very special guest right next to me on this side. On this side of the over here, it is Miss Denise Cabello, San Antonio's own. Hello, Denise.
Amanda, thank you so much for having us. And I have a special guest as well. What's your name?
Izzy.
This is my daughter, Izzy. She's joining us as well. So I'm Denise. I'm on San Antonio Living on Channel 4. We're at 10 a.m. We're a lifestyle show. So we love to have fun and do stuff like this. Once in a Wild is awesome. We were able to feature you guys a few times. So we're happy to be doing this with you. And then I told Izzy we were going to see animals. She couldn't resist that, right? We're excited to see animals, huh? So we're super excited to join. And Miss Amanda, I wore my Simba shirt for you.
I love that. I love the Lion King, as do most of our viewers, of course. And we are very family friendly, so we're happy to have you and Izzy here today. More the merrier, in my opinion. So thank you so much for being here. We're very excited to have you. Looks like a few of my viewers are chiming in. I'm just going to show you how I can actually show their comments.
Cool.
Samantha's here. Hi, Samantha. Hello.
Amanda?
And Richard is here as well, just being himself there on screen. And I'm sure we'll have some more questions and comments down below. But if you guys, Denise and Izzy, have any questions at all of your own, please feel free to ask me all the questions that you want. And if I see any interesting comments or questions, I will highlight them down below, and we'll just have a good time with everyone. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started in the traditional way by playing our introductory jingle. Ready?
That was so good. Brother-in-law, that was so good.
I get you in the mood for a good show? I hope so.
Yeah. Our pup heard the music too, so he's joining us too.
No problem.
I've got my own too over here.
Oh, super cute. Do you happen to have any other animals at home?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any other animals at home with you guys?
We have Elvis, who I adopted from Sapa. We also have Freedom, who we rescued from the pound. And that's all right now. We have been thinking about either a fish or a hamster. I would like to put a hamster.
Hamsters are very cute. They actually make really, really good pets for families.
Lizzie said she wants a hairless cat.
Ooh, that might be fun. Hairless cats need baths. Did you know that? You have to give them a bath, just like a dog.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they have, of course, almost no hair. They have a little bit of hair, almost like a human's arm. But you have to bathe them because they have special skin that doesn't, kind of keep up with itself like most cats do. So they're a little bit special in their needs, but they're still wonderful. Sphinx cats is what they're called. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys love animals. Are you ready to meet some animals today?
Super ready. Yes, let's do it.
So we're going to start with a reptile. Is that all right?
Yep. Let's do it.
Okay, so this here is one of my very favorite animals, and his name is Slytherin. And we're Harry Potter fans here at Once in a Wild, so he actually came with me. And I forgot to tell you, I was going to say I got distracted, but I have a dog named Elvis as well. Isn't that funny?
Small world.
What a good name. So this is Slytherin. Slytherin was actually donated to us a few years back, and he is an absolutely wonderful animal ambassador. He is actually a California king snake. And very, very, very beautiful, if I do say so myself.
That is pretty. Izzy asked if he bites.
So all animals with a mouth can bite, but Slytherin has never bitten. And not to say that it couldn't happen, but he is very, very nice with his personality. Some snakes are different than that. Some snakes might be more inclined to bite, just like some dogs are more inclined to bite than other dogs. They all have their different personalities. So that's a really good question. But any animal with a mouth can definitely try to bite you if they feel like it or they feel hungry enough, right? But we try our very best to not let that happen when we're handling them.
Coiling up.
Yeah, so this type of snake is from California, just like the name California king snake says. But the king part in the king snake, do you have any idea why they call him the king snake?
Why do you think he's the king? I would imagine because he maybe is in control of all the other little snakes around him.
That's a really good guess. Maybe? Just like the Lion King, right?
Yeah, we like a show called Dino Dana as well. So
okay, that's awesome. I mean, the more things you watch, the better. So they're called the king snake because sometimes when they get really hungry, they might eat other snakes. So this is a type of snake that might eat other snakes. Isn't that amazing?
I didn't expect that. Interesting.
But not only do they eat other snakes, they might eat lizards, they might eat frogs, they also might eat rats and mice, and they might eat birds. So they have a varied diet when it comes to being a carnivore, but they only eat meat. They don't eat salad or fruits and vegetables like all snakes. They can't eat those things.
Interesting.
Cool. Yeah.
Does the kind of diet that the snake has, is that determined by its size?
Yes and no. So size is going to be... that's a good question. So basically, whatever size he is how big he can eat. So it's not necessarily like a small snake versus a larger snake can eat certain things. For example, like a baby snake of almost any species can eat small mice. They can eat lizards and things like that in order to get bigger. And once they get bigger, they can graduate to other food items, if you will. But as a species, he's just not a picky eater. They're one of the least picky type of snake in nature. So they can make a meal out of other snakes, for example, and lizards and all kinds of things. As long as he can eat it and it fits, he can try to eat it, right? But most snakes only eat rodents and birds and things like that. That's very, very common for most snakes. These guys are special.
Their mouths can get really big when they eat their food, right, Miss Amanda?
Yes, they can. So snakes of all species, all different kinds, have a very special jaw. If you touch your jaw, it's kind of just like one solid piece. Very, very hard, solid bone, right? But a snake's jaw actually has a great big gap right here. It's almost like the diastema in my teeth, but in the bone here. So they have kind of a floating jaw. It's also very flexible on the sides too. And their skin is very stretchy. All of their skin is stretchy all over their body, which explains how they can eat so big as well. But in order to swallow it in the first place, they have to open their mouth really big. So since they have a gap here, their jaw can actually split like this inside and make lots and lots of nice wide room to eat something so big. And because they eat so large, each time they eat, they don't have to eat very often, especially since they have a slow metabolism. Awesome.
Would you want a snake as a pet? No, I would. What kind of snakes are good for pet? Is that a pet kind of snake or?
Sure,
no.
These guys are actually pretty good pet snakes, but it really depends on the personality of a king snake. Some king snakes are a little bit more cranky than others. I would say a corn snake or a ball python is what I would recommend for like a beginner snake. But if you're a little bit more advanced or experienced, I would go for a king snake or maybe other types of snakes, but there's so many choices. But my favorite personally is the corn snake to recommend for new people owning snakes because they hardly have any health issues. They almost always eat what you give them, and they don't need a whole lot of heat or humidity. And, you know, when we live in Texas, it's pretty dry here, so you don't have to worry about that so much.
These little tongue like this.
And they're very sweet as well. Corn snakes actually end up being very docile too.
I like it. Say that again.
Do you have any idea of why he has this type of coloration?
Let's see. Why is he black and white?
That's the color he made.
That's the color he was born with. That's
very true, and it's beautiful, huh? And we love him because he's so beautiful. But he has a very specific reason to have kind of a very bold coloration. So normally most animals in the wild, which by the way, this is how they look in the wild. This is not a special color because some animals do come in special colors like dogs and cats, right? They come in all different colors because we have bred them that way. Not the case for this particular coloration. This is the natural color, pretty awesome. And that is actually to basically present a warning to his enemies. So just because he's a predator doesn't mean that he doesn't also have predators. So he's not very large as an animal, right? He's very small, he's a big snake, but he's not a large animal like a bear or anything like that. And he have some enemies out there in the wild, like maybe birds of prey or other types of predators that might eat him. So this actually warns other animals that he may be dangerous, but it's actually a bluff. You know what a bluff means, Izzy?
You know what that means? Bluff?
To bluff? That means to pretend. He's pretending to be dangerous. He's not really that dangerous unless you are a small animal that he can eat, right? He's not venomous, not poisonous in any way. But he looks like a venomous snake, maybe like a coral snake or something like that. Those guys have also bands down their back, and they're a different color, but that's going to tell other animals to watch out. Something's wrong. Something looks different than nature usually looks. So that's going to make them stop and look and maybe take a second, and then he can get away and be safe.
Interesting. Yeah.
Can you know that snakes have a forked tongue? You see his tongue?
Mm-hmm.
It's very different than our tongue, right? They actually smell with their tongue. We smell with our nose, right?
We smell with our nose.
Yeah, so he can't really smell with his nose. He's got nostrils, but he just breathes with his nostrils really, really well. That's how he can breathe. But he smells with the tongue. And his tongue is like this. It's got 2 points on the end of it called a forked tongue. That's going to help him smell the world around him and bring in information to his brain.
Yeah.
Cool, huh?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Did you have questions about him?
Izzy was smelling like a snake. She was going like this.
That's how a snake smells. They can't really taste with their tongue because they don't have any known taste buds, but they can smell and bring in smell particles into their mouth. And that actually tells their brain about the world around them. Just like we kind of look around and see the world, they're going to smell around and smell the world. That's going to be their main way to sense the world around them. They can see too, but it's not very good vision. So that's kind of a secondary sense.
They don't have very good vision. They rely on their tongue for their sense of smell. Do they have ears?
They don't have ears. In fact, they can't hear very well, if at all. We know that they can feel vibrations, just like a deaf person could with loud music or something like that, or somebody stomping by near them or something like that. They can definitely feel vibrations. But to our knowledge, they don't really have any hearing in the traditional way. Yeah, so they can't hear very well. That's for sure. No ears.
I like snakes. What do you think? Do you like him? Yeah.
He's so pretty. He's so soft. I wish you were here to touch him. Maybe someday you guys can meet him. He is so soft and smooth, and he's not slimy. Did you know that snakes are not slimy?
Did you think they were slimy?
No.
No?
That's
kind
of that's a common misconception because they're shiny. They have like a shiny texture to them, light especially. You can see how shiny. But there's nothing wet on his skin at all. In fact, he's the opposite. He's waterproof. So if he were to go swimming, the water would roll right off of his back. He could easily go swimming. And he's even got no eyelids, but he's got a clear scale over his eye, which can protect his eye from water or anything else. He's going to turn away from you guys as I say that. But they don't ever blink. They have a clear scale, like a goggle over their eyeball.
Wow.
Them. Cool, huh?
And is that like all snakes, or the king specifically? That's all snakes?
All snakes have no eyelids, yeah.
Can they all swim?
Most snakes can swim. Not all snakes like to swim, and some snakes really like to swim. So it really just depends on the species. One of the funniest things I've ever seen is a rattlesnake swimming because they don't like to swim. They try to get across the river, and they try to have the least amount of belly or body in the water. They kind of have their head up like this and their tail up in the back, and they just kind of scutter across the water and try to get away. But they don't really care for swimming.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, it's really cool that you guys love snakes because not everybody does, do they?
No.
No, and it's kind of a shame because they're very misunderstood. And I know that I wouldn't appreciate being judged before somebody got to know me, right? That's what we like to do with snakes. We like to make sure people get to know them, at least virtually, right? It's safe. Even if you're a little bit leery about them, it's fine. You're not going to get bitten for sure from this distance. But not that he would bite you anyway. But we try to give people positive experiences with animals they may have apprehensions about. But I'm glad you guys don't. And that's really important for the species because they're really important animals. These guys eat a lot of rodents for us, which helps us to stay less sick. And we certainly don't need any more diseases in the environment. So they help us out a lot.
Interesting.
Oh, Donna says, I like hairless cats. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Donna likes hairless cats too. Awesome, Donna.
Okay, Slytherin. I think you did a great job. Thank you,
Thanks,
Slytherin.
Slytherin. Say thanks, Slytherin.
Thanks, Slytherin.
Okay, let's let him rest and we'll take out another animal. How about that? Let me know if you guys have any questions whatsoever about any of the animals or anything. What is y'all's favorite animals?
What's your favorite animal?
A cat.
A what?
A cat.
A cat, she says, but we found out she's allergic to cats. And we don't really have too many cats around because my father and my sister are also allergic to cats.
I see.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with monkey.
You like monkeys? I used to work with monkeys, but I'm not a big fan of monkeys. But I like a few different kind of primates. So monkeys are a little bit, well, they're very dirty, and they're also kind of scary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They kind of come after you. They're definitely not good pets and not good for handling for sure.
Yeah, maybe I probably say that because I've never really gotten close to one. So.
Right. Well, they're fun to watch, and every animal, of course, has their purpose and whatnot. But what about this mammal, though? This is another mammal, not a monkey.
That is so cute. That's a little hedgehog.
She's more comfortable down here. This is actually Laverne. You know what kind of animal this is?
What's that?
A hedgehog.
A hedgehog.
That's right. Some people guess porcupine, but it's not a porcupine, is it? This is a very different animal. Porcupines are actually a family.
Yeah.
She does curl up into a ball. So porcupines are actually in the rodent family. They have really long teeth that are really strong. Hedgehogs are in the shrew family, which is a totally different family group, but they both have these quills or spines on their back for protection. So this is an African hedgehog. By the way, she is a nocturnal animal. So if you see her hiding from the lights, that's what she's doing. She's like, wow, it's so bright in here. So she might kind of cover her face a little bit. And it is also their instinct to roll up into a ball, like Izzy said. I'm going to try to show her to you as best I can. She is so cute.
The cute face.
But they have this amazing defense mechanism, which are their spines. And almost no animals can eat them. They are very, very strong spines. Goodness gracious. She is so busy today. They are very, very strong spines. They curl up into a ball. And they flex all of their skin, basically, like you get goosebumps. They can do that at will when they want to. And that will protect all of their body from their predators. So they have all kinds of predators in Africa where they're from, as you might imagine, like lions, for example. But most animals can't eat them when they're doing this. So one animal that can eat them actually is another nocturnal animal. Can you think of what it might be?
Another nocturnal animal.
Lion.
What she just said, the lions can't eat them.
They don't really go after them. Number one, they're pretty small for a meal for a lion. Wouldn't be much meat on it, right?
Lion.
Also, it's really hard to take a bite out of these guys. They have really, really strong spines.
Maybe like an owl because of its beak?
You're right. You're very smart. So owls are also out at night. These are out at night too. They're strictly nocturnal. In fact, she's probably looking for somewhere to go underneath right now. She's like, why all this? It's daytime. I'm going to bed.
Look
like,
at her.
Like a little bumper. So an owl, I know, she's like, I'm out of here. If an owl can pick them up, they actually can pick them up with their long toenails. Owls have talons. They can pick them up, and they do have a beak too. So they can get away with eating them without getting injured as easily.
Wow.
She's out of here. And look what we have there on the table too. I'm going to set her down for just a second so I can pick this up. Nothing happened.
Laverne, we're on live.
Oh. Did I tell you what her sister's name is?
I bet it's Shirley.
It is Shirley. So maybe I should have brought Shirley today. Laverne is a very busybody today. Goodness gracious.
Well, that one's
anyway. So these guys, a lot of people want a hedgehog for a pet, and I'm glad you guys are getting a hamster instead of a hedgehog, because as you can see, they're not the cuddliest animals ever. They are really cute, and I understand why people love them, but I like to advocate for these guys not really being good pets because they're very sharp. They don't really care for being held, as you can see. Look at her go. She's like, bye. They're out at night only. They're only out at night, so you'll never really see them. So hopefully she'll settle down here and you can get a all right here. But what a great defense mechanism. I mean, nothing can really grab them.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So when Laverne, does she have all her quills still?
Yes. So they do lose them just like your hair. It's just their hair. So they do lose them over time. Yeah. And they just regrow like hair does. And on the back, it's very, very soft. And their skin is really stretchy. They can stretch it all the way across their body. As you can see, she's pretty much doing that.
Yeah.
And they also make really funny noises. Can you hear her?
It's like a cough almost or something.
Yeah, it's called, what is that called? It's called crabbing, I think. And that's just like have you ever heard of a sugar glider?
Uh-huh.
Those guys also do a similar noise. It kind of just helps to deter an enemy away.
Yeah.
But really, it's going to be all the spine. That's very hard to eat.
Look at her.
Do you know what hedgehogs eat?
Do you know what they eat? What do you think? Do you think they eat?
Oh, I think they eat some,
Do you think they eat like grass and salad and kind of stuff? Or do you think they
celery.
eat insects?
celery.
Celery? We think they're vegetarians.
That's a really good guess. But you were right with your other guess, actually. What was the other thing you said?
Insects.
Yeah, I heard that earlier and now. So out there in the wild, these guys are actually a predator too. So they're going to be eating things like termites, crickets, roaches, all kinds of worms, bugs, whatever they can find. So they are predators for bugs.
Would they eat ants also?
Sorry?
Would they eat ants also?
Sometimes, but it depends. Not many animals eat a ton of ants. Number one, ants are very tiny usually, unless they're big ants from like South America or something like that. Also, most ants are very toxic. So instead, they're going to eat termites from Africa. Termites are like bigger ants anyway, right? Very similar. And termites in Africa are really big. They're like great big grasshopper type.
She's funny.
So she's cranky today. She has her good days and bad days like all of us. Right?
She's not having it.
You're okay.
She's so cute, though. We like her face.
Yeah, she's so cute. I don't think she understands how much people love her.
In pop culture, Sonic the Hedgehog, right? He's super fast. Are hedgehogs actually
I
fast?
love you.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog. They can be downhill. One thing that Sonic the Hedgehog actually got right was when they kind of go up a little, maybe like not like a straight up or anything like that, but like a slope like this, they can actually go back down by rolling up, and their spines are so protected that they can roll and kind of keep going and just get where they need to go quicker that way.
That would be fun.
They roll downhill very quickly.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here's a question from Richard. What do we think? Could a honey badger eat it? That's a good guess.
Could a honey badger eat the hedgehog?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
So you're probably right, but I'm really not sure. I feel like they could probably try, depending on the situation, if they were hungry enough. Honey badgers are really, really tough animals. But I feel like it wouldn't be enough meat to be worth it, if that makes sense. It's almost like when you eat like seafood. If you have like one crab leg, if you have like one crab leg or one crawfish, that's really not enough food.
Not
but
worth it.
50 of them, then you may be fine.
Not worth it. Izzy has a question. Can she ask you?
Of course.
Show us your spider.
Oh,
Yes.
I think we'll probably get one of those in a little bit. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can actually go ahead and see the spider now, and maybe I'll let Laverne rest and see if she's okay at the end, but she is just not having it today, and that's okay. We're gonna let our animals tell us that how they're feeling today. That's perfectly
Happens, Laverne. I get
good. She's not a morning person or a daytime person.
it.
Neither am I, so I get it too.
Yeah.
All right, let's see a spider. I'm glad you like spiders. This is my favorite.
It was in the can.
How about this one?
Ooh.
See, so this here is Blondie. She's a very cool tarantula. So her species is the Arizona blonde tarantula, which is why we call her Blondie, right? And Blondie is a native of the United States too, just like Slytherin. Slytherin's from California. This one's from Arizona. Do you like her?
Yeah, Izzy is definitely feeling this tarantula. Right?
That's really cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
Tarantulas are also very misunderstood animals.
Yeah.
But they are not harmful to humans. There are no deadly tarantulas to humans. And they do us a lot of good by eating a ton of bugs. And that's really important because if we have too many insects, we can get sick from insects too, just like with the rats and mice that I talked about before. So these are awesome. We have tarantulas right here in Texas too, don't we?
Yeah. So I remember you saying you don't advocate for people to have hedgehogs as pets. What about tarantulas?
Tarantulas are very easy pets. Now, I don't think they're for everybody, just like every pet isn't for everybody. Even dogs aren't for everybody, I think, or cats, right? But they are very easy pets depending on what species you get. The Arizona blonde, rose hair tarantulas, pink toe tarantulas, all of those are very easy and handleable tarantulas. Not every tarantula is handleable. Some of them don't like to be pet or held. In fact, I don't know if any of them really like it, but a lot of them tolerate it better than others, right? So I would say this is one of the easier pets, but they're really not for kids, I would say. I would say they're for older children and up because they're kind of fragile. They're actually a fragile animal.
Yeah.
But they're awesome, and they're great animal ambassadors for what we do. Did you know that tarantulas have hair all over them?
Yeah, tarantulas are hairy. Did you know that?
Very hairy. And they do use their hair for defense as well, just like the hedgehog, only in a different way. So the hedgehog uses their spines, right? That's pretty obvious, but that's their hair too. A tarantula has hair all over their body, and they use it for kind of armor, but they also can actually rub the hairs off of them. If they feel threatened, they can kind of go like this and make hair fly into the air, and that will actually irritate a predator's eyes. And it'll help them get away. Isn't that interesting? So their hair is kind of like a bunch of eyelashes. Have you ever gotten an eyelash in your eye? It's terrible. So that's similar to what the tarantula's hairs are all over their body. They're kind of irritating when they get into the air, so it's going to help them stay safe. In fact, tarantulas like this would rather use their hairs than actually bite an animal to stay safe because their venom is very, very mild. So they're not going to do much by biting an enemy.
So they just basically give them allergies to ward them off.
Kind of. It's more of an irritant. It's actually gonna physically scratch their eyes when they do that. So it's kind of irritating.
What I'm sure we're gonna get here, but I'm jumping the gun. What do tarantulas eat?
They eat the same thing as the hedgehog. What was that?
What do you remember what the hedgehog ate?
Insects.
That's right. Very good. So tarantulas eat bugs. So they're going to eat things like roaches, crickets, worms, all the things that the hedgehog can eat too. They eat it very differently though. Do you know how a tarantula eats its food?
Let's see how they eat. I'm listening.
So I'm not going to show you how she eats right now because I didn't bring any snacks for her, but it's really hard for her to eat on camera. She doesn't usually want to do that. These guys are also kind of nocturnal, and they prefer to eat in the dark where they're safe. Because when their mouth is full, that's when they're going to be even more vulnerable. So they feel a little bit scared when they're eating out here. So, but in their enclosure or whatever, they might want to do that. But anyway, so these guys have venom. Even though they're not deadly to humans, they still have venom. They're all venomous when it comes to being a spider. And their venom is right here in their mouth. They have two very thick kind of mustache-looking things in the front of their face. Maybe I can show you. And they're called chelicerae. Chelicerae is where the venom is stored, like a venom gland. Kind of like right there in the front of her face there. Like a big mustache. See that?
Yeah.
And then the fangs are actually underneath her chin. So when she's not using her fangs, they're going to be stored underneath, kind of like I showed you, like this. They're going to be underneath her chin. And when she's ready to eat, they're going to pop out like this, stab her prey, like a cricket, for example, or a roach or something like that. And then the venom goes in, and then the roach will actually become a smoothie for the tarantula to drink. So they don't actually chew their food. They envenomate their food, wait for it to turn into a liquid, and then they drink it with their little sucker mouth. They have a very, very silly mouth that looks like a straw. And that's how they eat. Pretty crazy. It looks kind of like a fly does, actually.
Time out. They sting their prey to fill them with venom. And how does that, how does it liquefy? How does that happen? It just like on the inside, like...
Yes.
Oh, while their insides liquefy?
That's right. So any insect or bug that they're going to eat, right, is going to have an exoskeleton, just like she has. So since they're invertebrates, they don't have any bones, right, on the inside. They're already kind of liquidy anyway. They kind of are soft on the inside and hard on the outside. They have a shell, almost like a crab or any other invertebrate too, right? And so what they do is they do that, and it becomes a total liquid, and they can drink it right out of the shell. How convenient.
Wild.
It's pretty wild. Let's see what oh, here Richard's asking another really good question as well. Let's see. Would a bite from Blondie be painful? Now, I have never been bitten by Blondie, so I don't know firsthand, but I am told it's no worse than maybe a bee sting, which I have been stung by a bee, and I'm not allergic to bees, and that wasn't so bad. So I could probably handle that. It wouldn't feel great or anything, but that's really not that bad, right? Definitely not deadly.
Yeah, Richard is adventurous. You can tell from his profile picture.
I love that. He is getting ready to eat a raw fish, I think.
That's crazy.
As well. What do we think about this?
Do you think a tarantula would eat another spider? Do you think Blondie would eat another spider? Like maybe tiny spiders? We're going to go with yes.
You are right. So most tarantulas don't live together. They're solitary. That means that they live alone, right? They prefer to be all by themselves, living in quarantine, I guess. And so this makes it a little complicated for breeding season, right? So if they happen to come across another tarantula, they might be actually food for that tarantula. Or if it's during the breeding season and the female doesn't feel like eating at that time, they might breed instead. So that's very, very tricky for spiders in general. So most spiders are cannibalistic, kind of like Slither and the snake. So yeah, it just depends on how hungry they are.
Interesting. Do tarantulas make webs?
They do. So, but it's not going to be the same type of web that you think of, like in the corner or up in a tree, like a traditional spider web you might think of. It's going to be more like a carpet. Why don't you get? It's going to be more like a carpet, kind of like Halloween webbing. When you for Halloween, that's what it reminds me of, or cobweb. But they can kind of make a nice little bed for themselves. They can use that to feel vibrations of intruders or prey coming into their den. These guys usually live underground or in a maybe like a hole in the ground or something like that, or underneath something. So having that alert system, kind of like an alarm system, really helps them too. Or it could tell them that there's food at the door. So that's going to help too.
Do they wait for their food to get caught in the web or no?
They don't really get caught in the web because it's not super sticky. It's just like, it's more soft, but they do wait for their food to come to them most of the time. So they're going to be hanging out in their den or their burrow under the ground, usually for this species. Not every species is the same. Some species live in the trees. It just depends. But most tarantulas, especially here in Texas, they live underground. She's ready to run around just like the hedgehog. I don't know what's going on with my animals today. They're all running around. Stay there. But they'll usually wait for the food to, like I said, kind of do that little tripwire or what have you. Or they'll sense it with their hairs. Their hairs are very, very sensitive to movement in the air as well. And then that's when they're going to pounce and grab their food and eat them like we described earlier. But typically they're not going to leave their home very often.
I think it's interesting that a lot of times when tarantulas are animated, they put a mustache on them, but now I know why.
Yeah, it does look like a great big handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
And too, like a cowboy or something like that. That's a cool thing to say. I've never actually talked about that on the live stream before, but I always think about it.
Yeah. How cool.
So for tarantula, for their senses, we talked about the snake senses and a little bit about the hedgehog. Hedgehog doesn't have very good vision either, just like the snake. These guys have even worse vision. They do have 8 eyes, just like they have 8 legs. So they have 8 legs, 2 arms, 2 fangs, 2 body parts, and they actually have 8 eyes. But their 8 eyes are really, really poor when it comes to seeing anything. They don't see color, and they only see shadows and movement. So that's going to help them a little bit, but really their sense of touch with the hair is going to be what helps them the most.
Mm-hmm. They have 8 eyes. What would you see if
you
you
have
had
8 eyes?
You could
spider web and cups and
if you could choose, would you rather have a tarantula or a snake?
tarantula.
Tarantula.
It's so fun how little ones usually aren't afraid of anything.
Yeah.
And I find that so interesting. We have a lot of teachers that actually contact us for programs for education, of course. And a lot of the teachers are worried that the kids are going to be scared. I've never had that happen. I've never had a child be afraid of most everything. Not everything. Sometimes people are afraid of certain things, but rarely are the little ones afraid of the bugs and the snakes and things like that. So interesting.
Yeah, I know. I wonder when that fear, when we impose ourselves with that fear. That's funny.
I think it just depends on their situation as well, or their experiences, which is what we try to help with, right? We try to make sure everything's positive and to educate. We don't recommend everybody go out there and just pick up whatever animal they see in nature, because that's not a good idea either. But you want to just respect them, leave them alone, make sure that we know that they are also important, and not necessarily to be afraid of them, but just to respect them, right?
Yeah.
That's really important. All right, Blondie, I think she's ready to go rest too. She's going crazy out here. She is so cute. I love her beautiful coloration. This is their natural coloration as well in the wild. I've never seen her move this much on a program ever. You knew that she was on TV today. Okay. Anybody else to say? By the way, if I didn't mention this already, please feel free to chime in with your questions and comments down below, everyone. This is always a very interactive event. Let's meet another reptile, and then we'll meet our final animal after that. You guys are really going to love him. I just know it. Here he is. Look. Do you know what kind of animal this is?
A turtle.
And I'm going to
extremely close. You're in the right family group, but he is something else other than a turtle.
I'm going to say he's a tortoise because of the shell. That's what
that is
right?
He is a tortoise, and there are actually several differences. So there are several answers to that question. So what's the difference between turtles and tortoises? Well, there are several differences. One is going to be their shell. Most of the time, tortoises do have a shell that's more rounded and not flat. So most turtles can swim, right? Like a sea turtle or a red-eared slider turtle. Those guys need to be streamlined in the water to be able to swim well in the water. So usually they're going to have a flat shell, kind of slender. Tortoises live on land. They don't swim and they can't swim. And they do have more of a rounded shell.
Look.
But not every tortoise has a rounded shell. There's a couple of exceptions, but all the tortoises have these other things in common that I'm going to tell you now. One is going to be their feet. So they don't have any webbed feet, and they don't have any feet that can help them swim at all. Not flippers, no webbing on their feet. They're just made for walking around on the ground. That is what they do. And then also they have, they're heavier bodied in general. And they also eat they eat less of food options than a turtle would eat. So turtles usually can eat meat, and a tortoise cannot catch anything for their dinner. They're very slow. So they typically only eat vegetation, so plants.
I didn't know turtles ate meat.
Yeah, most turtles do have omnivore diet, so they eat both meat and plants. And some turtles eat almost all meat. So like certain types of sea turtles, they eat fish and they eat jellyfish and things like that. And they also eat a little bit of like seaweed and things like that, depending on the species, of course. Some eat more vegetation than others. And then things like alligator snapping turtles eat a little bit of vegetation, but it's almost all other animals. They actually are good hunters. But this guy, not so much. He's not very fast, is he? He's pretty slow, as you might imagine. Tortoises are generally pretty slow. I'm going to let you see how fast he can run.
What is his name?
His name is Shelton. I almost forgot to tell you. His full name is Shelton John. That's his name. So we have a Shelton John and we have a Frank Sinatra, and they're the same species, which is the red-footed tortoise, which I forgot to tell you too.
That's fun.
You want to guess what continent the red-footed tortoise is from?
Do you know any continents yet? Do you know any continents yet?
No.
No, she doesn't know any continents yet. We need to go over continents. I'm going to guess Australia.
That's a great guess, but nope, not Australia. It's another A continent, which there's several of them.
Asia?
Asia's another good guess. Another great guess. You know what? I lied. It's from America, but it's from South America. So I think there's so many A continents, so that wasn't very nice of me. They're from America. They're from Central and South America, so an American tortoise. But these guys are primarily found in the jungles of South America. Isn't that cool?
It's cool.
They're so pretty, I think. They're one of the prettiest tortoises. This is the natural color that they come in. And they call them the red-footed tortoise for obvious reasons, right? Little red spots. Shelton. So what do you think Shelton's favorite foods are?
What do you think that Shelton likes to eat?
Sand.
Sand? What about lettuce? What about lettuce? Lettuce?
Yeah.
Salads?
Sure, he loves salad. He's not a very picky eater when it comes to his food. He pretty much eats anything I give him. And his favorite food, I would probably say, is yellow squash, which I know you has. But he really likes almost everything that we hand him.
He's so cute. How old is he?
So that's a great question. We don't know his age because Shelton, as well as Frank, our other tortoise, they're both rescues. So just like your dog, I think you said was a rescue, there's such thing as rescue reptiles too, which we always recommend if you can actually adopt instead of shopping. Next animal companion, we always recommend that. So good job. But for tortoises, a lot of times people do get a hold of a baby tortoise and then they don't realize how long they can live. So this species can live into their 60s or 65, 70 years old. So you kind of have to have a plan for them when you are gone, right? Because they might outlive you depending on how old you are. So sometimes people actually obtain a tortoise and then they don't want them anymore because they have no means to take care of them for that long. So they end up in rescue situations, which is how we got our two tortoises. Wow. So we don't know. We guess he's around anywhere from 10 to 15, but we really don't know his age.
So it's not like trees. You know, trees have the rings and you can count them. See how they don't have that on their shell or anything?
No, it's a myth that actually is a way to determine their age. A lot of people think that, and that's a very common misconception, so don't feel bad. But it's really not true. The only way that we could tell his age is, number one, we can just guess by his size, because when they're hatched out of their egg that they come out of, they're about this big. When they hatch, they're pretty small. So we think he's at least 10, you know, because they grow pretty slowly, just like everything else they do it slowly. But it really depends on his care. So if he didn't get enough to eat, if he didn't get enough light or heat and stuff like that that reptiles need, then he wouldn't have grown at the proper rate. So he might be younger or older than he should be.
Oh,
that
wow.
By size. Yeah. Tortoise can actually get about this large. So they're a pretty big species, medium-sized species, not the biggest in the world by any means, but they do get a lot bigger than Shelton does. But who knows? We really don't know his age.
And then, so, I mean, y'all have rescued these two tortoises. Should people own tortoises or turtles as pets?
They're a really big commitment, of course. I don't think they're bad pets. They have a lot of special needs and care requirements. That's definitely something we always encourage you to do your research on. I don't think they're poor pets or anything like that. I don't think there's any such thing as a bad pet or a good pet. In general, these guys are very, very sweet and docile animals, but they do require a lot of needs. Of course, they have, of course, a long life expectancy, not like even a cat or a dog doesn't live nearly as long as 60 or 70 years. So that's the main issue with these guys is you have to have a lot of commitment to own them.
Wow. So
that's a good question. But some are more suited for animal companions or pets than others, for sure. Yeah. I think dogs and cats are the best pets because they're domesticated, right? So most of the animals we have in our care here at Once in a While, they're not domesticated, which is what's special about us. We can give people experiences of those animals that may not be a common animal they see. Shelton, do you have any other questions about him? He's so cute.
He is cute. I like Shelton.
How big do they get? They get about 22 pounds for the species.
Their shell grows with them?
Absolutely. So that's another common misconception from like cartoons and things, that they can take their shell off, or that it can that they can partially be removed and maybe grow back or something like that. It's not the case. It is part of their body, just like our arm is part of our body. If we lose our arm, no more arm. So it definitely grows with them as their body does. It does that very slowly. But that's what actually gets them in trouble a lot in the wild as well. Not only are they a big commitment to have a pet tortoise, but also they're in trouble in the wild because a lot of people will hunt them for their shells. And a lot of locals don't know that they can't regrow their shells or just change shells. They think it's like a temporary thing, if that makes sense, kind of like elephant ivory. A lot of people don't know all over the world that elephant ivory doesn't grow back. They have to keep a whole elephant for that. So this is like his ivory. It's actually hunted for the shell, for things like medicinal purposes or fun trinkets and things like that. So it's really important not to buy tortoiseshell items when you travel. When we're traveling again.
Whenever that is.
I know.
Oh, I like Shelton.
Shelton. I know, I do too.
Can you show us another animal?
I think she
Sure can. Don't you worry. We got another animal in line. I want to make sure any of our viewers don't have any questions. You guys are being very quiet and polite out there. Feel free to chime in with all of your questions. And if anybody wants to book your own encounter, by the way, you can actually book your own personal Zoom encounter with animals of your choice right here on virtual. And we can also come to you as well in small groups and, of course, with masks on right now. I wanted to let everybody know that. And we're in the San Antonio area, right where Denise is. Yay, San Antonio. I'm a San Antonio native as well.
born and raised.
Me too. Awesome. All right, Shelton, I think you did a great job. And let's meet our last animal, I think.
Amanda, in true San Antonio native fashion, though, I have to ask you where you went to high school.
So I actually went to private school. I went to Castle Hills First Baptist over in the Castle Hills area, but in the Northwest Military area. Yep. I actually went there from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade.
Wow.
I know. And I think I looked up your high school, but remind me where you went.
John Marshall, go Rams.
Yeah. So we were the Eagles at our school.
How appropriate that you're still working with animals, right?
Yes. Eagles, by the way.
Did you know this passion of yours with animals, like at a young age?
Yes and no. I actually went to school for two different degrees / careers. But as a young child, I've always loved animals for sure, since I was very, very little. In fact, I remember going outside with my grandmother and catching snails and frogs and lizards and snakes all the time, which I don't recommend, kids. Please don't pick up wildlife. Somehow we thought it was a good idea back in the 80s, right? So we would hang out in the mud and play, and she encouraged me to get dirty and go to the zoo and go to SeaWorld growing up and everything like that. So I did know that I loved animals, but my original idea for a career when I graduated high school a long time ago was to be a wildlife photographer. I really love photography as well.
Wow.
I went to school for photography and art, and then decided to change my mind years down the road. And I actually went back to school in my late 20s, early 30s to get my degree in zoology. So then I totally changed my whole life after that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's never too late, right?
No, it's never too late. I always encourage everybody to follow your dreams and passions, no matter what they may be. Don't let anybody tell you what to do. Not that I had a lot of support growing up, so I'm very, very lucky and blessed. But yeah, you can always change your mind. It's never too late to do whatever you want to do, right? As long as it's okay, so let's meet our last animal. And by the way, I did work right here at the San Antonio Zoo as well in their mammal department.
Cool.
At one point, I worked with all kinds of mammals. But that's a different story. I think our next animal's ready. You guys, she's so excited. Here. Oh, look at John. This is a bird. That's right. She is a cockatiel, and her name is Pikachu, the cockatiel.
Pikachu.
She's looking at you guys.
She's looking at you. Say hi. Hi.
She's now seeing her treats. So cockatiels are from another A continent, which is Australia. That's where they come from in nature. Usually they're going to be colored with a gray color, and they have a yellow face with orange cheeks like she has. And they even have white on their wings, but she's all yellow, right? She's yellow and orange, like Pikachu.
Yeah. And so vibrant.
She is. In fact, she looks really, really light here under these lights, but she's actually pretty yellow. But with the lights, she almost looks white, very, very light yellow. Now, the reason that she's colored like this is because she was bred to be this color by her breeder. So we ended up getting her from a breeder. We wanted some special hand-raised cockatiels for programs. So that's one thing that we decided to do instead of rescue, because a lot of times rescue birds aren't fond of humans, especially humans. So that's something to consider. If anybody out there ever wants a pet bird, you have to make sure they like you, right? So nothing wrong with rescuing, of course, but for our purposes, we needed her to be very friendly and outgoing. So we actually raised her from a baby.
Oh, wow.
So Pikachu actually has a friend, and his name is Eevee. We have Eevee and Pikachu, like the Pokemon.
Cute.
These guys are actually in the parrot family. Did you know they were in the parrot family?
I didn't. And so you say cockatiel?
Cockatiel.
Is there a cockatoo, or have I been saying it wrong my whole life?
That's right. No, cockatoos and cockatiels are both parrots, and both of them are from Australia, in fact. And I'm going to give you some more treats. There you go. And she's basically just a tiny cockatoo. So they are close cousins. They're just a miniature version. And so it's like saying mini cockatoo, cockatiel. So you're right. And both cockatoos and cockatiels have that crest of feathers on top of their head like this. And that's basically going to act like her eyebrows. So it's not ears like Pikachu's ears, right? The Pokemon. It looks like ears, but it's not. It's just feathers. But she has the ability to raise or lower her crest, just like a cockatoo can too. You've probably seen that before. And that's going to tell you how she's feeling. Right now she's looking around and checking everything out. She's got her eyebrows up. If she were really surprised, they'd be really high up.
So it's just for expression.
Expression, that's right. And if it's all the way slicked back, she might be maybe a little bit more scared, something like that. It just depends.
Pikachu. She's cute. Oh, she's funny.
So, of course, birds fly, right? But not every bird flies. Did you know that?
Did you know that not all birds fly? No?
There's several of them that don't fly. Can you think of any?
Penguin.
That's right. Penguins. What about ostrich?
Oh, yeah. Ostrich. Remember?
They're really big birds, right? Ostrich is the largest bird in the world. But all birds have feathers.
To a place, what was it called?
We went to the wildlife ranch out there in New Braunfels.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an emu, right?
Yes.
There were ostriches and there was an emu. And what did you think about it?
Scary.
She wasn't a fan of the emu.
Well, they're really big. I understand that. Emus are actually one of my favorite animals. I think they're wonderful. But I can definitely understand that you might feel like, because they are really big birds. Mm-hmm. And they're a lot of times they're not very shy, especially when they get fed. Yes. So they're going to come right at you and look kind of scary. But they don't really want to hurt you. They're just looking for food.
They're just aggressive. They just know what they want.
They're aggressive. These guys are also from the same continent as an emu. Emus are from Australia as well. They might see each other in the wild. And cockatiels are all over Australia. They're actually very common out there, almost like we have like grackles and doves everywhere. You might see cockatiels and cockatoos all over Australia. Isn't that interesting? Wow. And they do hang out with a lot of other cockatiels and also a lot of other bird species. And that is because they need to stay safe. That is their main way to stay safe from their predators.
Safety in numbers. So you said Pikachu was bred to be the color that she is. What are the natural like cockatoo colors?
So mostly they're going to be gray all over their body, and then they have an orange face or a kind of a yellowish orange face, and then the orange cheeks, just like she has. Mm-hmm. So the main thing that she has that would be like the natural color is her face. So she's got the yellow face and the orange cheeks, which is pretty much right. But a cockatiel is going to have gray almost all over their entire body and a little bit of white.
Wow.
So, yeah, so mostly a gray bird. It's very different than Pikachu.
Yeah, I didn't know.
But they make cockatiels in all kinds of colors now because they've been in the care of humans for a long, long time. And breeders have learned how to selectively breed them just like we have different dog breeds. Mm-hmm. That's very interesting to me. Yeah. I'm not a breeder, so I don't know how they do it, but it's all genetics. But yeah.
Wow.
Very cool. So since they're in the parrot family, they share some common adaptations or features that all parrots share. And one is going to be their beak. So parrots have really strong beaks. I'm trying to show you as best I can. But their beak is really, really strong, almost like a wrench.
Yeah, I see.
Very, very powerful. And she can actually crush nuts and seeds very, very easily with her beak.
Oh, so
and that's what her beak is for, is eating seeds. So that's going to be her main diet, is things like nuts and seeds and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
They don't eat any kind of meat. There's a piece of food.
There, that was a good shot. Got a good shot of her beak there.
There you go.
Nice.
She's so light colored, it's hard to show anything. But she's a wonderful bird. These guys also have zygodactyl feet, which are really, really fancy word for that. But that basically means that she has 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. So her toes are split 2 and 2 instead of 3 and 1, like most birds.
Like this.
And that actually gives her more capability of picking things up with their feet to be able to eat them or hold things like a hand. And they can also climb with their feet too, just like most parrots can.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want it? There you go.
Are cockatiels boisterous like parrots and other birds?
They are. They're on the calmer side, and females like Pikachu are actually much more calmer than male than my experience. I worked with lots of them. Males are a little bit more sassy, kind of like a rooster versus a chicken or a hen. They are not like mean or anything like that. They're actually very sweet, but they're a lot more talkative. They sing a lot. They talk to themselves in the mirror, etc. And the females are just kind of calm and very, very sweet to almost anyone that they come across. So Pikachu's a really good ambassador to you.
Would you want a bird as a pet? Yeah.
She wants everything, I think.
I think so, right?
The snake? Did she say no to the snake at first, and then she said
no to the snake?
I want a snake.
No, you want a snake? Yeah, you changed your mind.
Yeah, you've been convinced. You're gonna do what I do someday. Work with animals. You can have a variety. Oh goodness. So these guys, I would say, are one of the better pet birds, but they're still a bird, and birds are very high maintenance. Luckily, this type of bird doesn't live as long as most parrots, so that's one a little bit easier aspect of a cockatiel. A cockatoo, however, can live to be almost 100, potentially. So that's a very, very long commitment, just like the tortoise. So some cockatoos live around their 60s, some cockatoos live all the way to 80s or 100, which is crazy to me. But cockatiels usually live into their teens or 20s, which is still a long time.
Yeah.
Me. And it's kind of like having a little kid all the time until 20 years from now. So it's kind of like having a child. So it's a big commitment.
A child that doesn't grow up.
Yeah, kind of stays like Izzy for the rest of it. Which are wonderful in all the.
Oh, wow.
All right. Our viewers are being very quiet, but that's okay. We've had a really good time on the show today.
Yeah, this has been really interesting. I've learned a lot. Have you learned? Yeah? Learned some stuff? And I guess we're going to have to go get some more animals. Yeah. Do you think you'll grow up and work like Miss Amanda and work with animals?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's like,
cool.
Of course I will.
Yeah.
So cute. Do you guys ever visit the zoo?
We haven't been in a long time, of course, but we do love going to the zoo. Yeah.
Yeah, us too. I really miss it sometimes. I do miss it sometimes. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of, you're out in the heat all day and things like that. So it's kind of nice in a way that we switched, to kind of doing this because right now, especially we're indoors all the time.
Yeah. I know every summer people are going to be like virtual now and then come back out.
Yes. And then it's going to be hopefully cooler in the fall. Maybe it's San Antonio. It won't be.
Yeah.
Wintertime, sure. Well, Pikachu, you were wonderful. And just like all of our animal ambassadors, we always like to let people know that every animal is important and has a purpose in nature. And their purpose is to actually be food for other animals. But that's not going to happen to her here in our care. But they are prey. So they're prey for other animals. So again, that they stay in large groups, they can fly away from danger. But that's really about it as far as a tiny bird like this. So they like to be with their families all the time. And they're very loyal to their mates, too. They have mates for life. They get married and have children together, and they actually breed all year round as long as there's good resources. And per time that they have their eggs, they can actually have anywhere from 2 to about 8 babies. A range of, that's a lot of babies. They do have quite a few of them.
Wow. She's so funny. She's so inquisitive. Like it's like what you said, the expression, you can tell, you can see it on their faces. That's really neat.
I know. Birds have a lot of personality for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Well, I really appreciate you guys being here with me today.
You had fun? We've had a blast. This was so great, Miss Amanda. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and I hope we can do it again another time.
Absolutely.
And we hope to see you in person someday as well.
Yes, I know.
Oh, yes. We miss the zoo. Yes, we do. And traveling.
Yes.
Soon.
You're not alone.
Yeah, we'll be back out there soon. I'm staying hopeful.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a wonderful time. Thank you to all of our family, friends, and followers, and Denise and Izzy today, of course. We're going to go ahead and close with the full version of our jingle. How about that? Okay, ready? 1, 2.
Ready.
I'm so glad you got to join us today, and we'll see everybody at 6:30 p.m. tonight. We're not going to cancel our regularly scheduled program, so we'll see you guys in a little bit.
Yay!
Peace and bye, Izzy. Have a great rest of your evening.
Guys.
See you next time. Bye.